Welcome back to GA Fan TV, and it is St Finbarrs who are the Munster Club Senior Football Champions for the very first time in 36 years. They have beaten Austin Stacks by 2 points in the end, the scoreline of 2-9 to 110. And I tell you what, that definitely had a lot of drama, didn't it? Kind of going down the home stretch. I mean, that was probably the best club provincial final I think we've seen so far this year, anyways, in my opinion, and certainly one of the more entertaining club games we've seen this year. And maybe the weather had a little bit, something to do with that. I'm not too sure, but I thought, what a game we had, and very close in the end for Austin Stacks. They nearly completed the impossible. They nearly turned around a 5-point deficit in injury time, and you were looking at that Hail Mary ball sent into Kieran Donaghy right at the end. John Kearns just about tapped it away. You were thinking, was the stars going to align there for Kieran Donaghy, and maybe he was going to, find the winner and win the game for Stacks, but it wasn't meant to be. And this game was explosive from the beginning. This game was explosive from the start. I mean, you barely even had time to turn on your TV, and all of a sudden there was a goal already. I mean, Finbarrs comes straight out of block, 17 seconds, goal, back of the net. Killian Myers Murray, bit of a tricky name there. He gets the goal. Bit of a messing around from the throw-in, ends up being a free-in. Ian Maguire hits it deep. Stacks were very much asleep, and the ball ends up falling its way to Killian Myers Murray right in front of the goal. Absolutely buries it. And yes, in the first half, I just thought Stacks were just a little bit asleep, a little bit sloppy in possession. Finbarrs came out very, very fast. They were turning the ball over quite a lot in Austin Stacks' half-back line, causing a lot of problems in and around there. And even though they didn't score their next point for another 10 to 15 minutes or so, you could tell sort of early on in the first half that the intensity that Finbarrs were playing with was certainly causing a lot of problems for Austin Stacks. They were struggling from their own kickouts at times as well. A couple of kickouts from Wayne Guthrie going astray, some of them going over the sideline. And Stacks were just struggling, and I thought it was a brilliant bit of defensive positioning in Finbarrs in many ways, because they were forcing Stacks to kick out by the wing, and that's why, we've seen on a couple of occasions that, Austin Stacks ended up kicking the ball out over on the sideline. And they just struggled. They just, their intensity just wasn't quite there in the first half, a little bit wayward in front of goal. We didn't quite see the best. I thought Sean Quilter was impressive enough in the first half, to be fair. Won a couple of frees, scored a couple of marks. But generally speaking, I think that the main thing for Austin Stacks is that they've been very impressive defensively this year. Very impressive in terms of what they've done, shutting out the likes of East Kerry for majority of the game. No goals conceded in their last Munster Championship out, and I think this is their third goal they've conceded, or that was their third goal, the Killian Myers Murray goal, and then the fourth goal obviously late on from Enda Dennehy. So they've done very, very well defensively at shutting teams out, and in particular going forward is really maybe where they've lacked sort of like a marquee forward. Kieran Donaghy's not the man to be scoring 1-5, 1-6 in a game. He's just not that type of player. So they were kind of relying on some other players there, and just a couple of times chances just going a little bit wide from the likes of Darragh O'Brien and Brendan O'Sullivan. Just wasn't quite clicking from an Austin Stacks point of view, and they probably gave themselves a bit too much to do really in the second half. Towards the end of the first as well, Finbarrs really, really just stepped it up, and Colin Lyons was brilliant from a Finbarrs point of view. He scored a brilliant point right near the end of the first half. He was brilliant at getting forward, and Bars were just running directly at Austin Stacks, and it was causing all sorts of problems. They were running through the gaps, and they were getting in behind, and there could have nearly been another goal at one stage in that first half. They really could have, but you got to give Stacks a lot of credit, because in the second half they really came out fast, and it was like a steam train, and they really got in the faces of Finbarrs. And what was working for Finbarrs in the first half was they were given time on the ball. They were given time to play it around, pass it around, and they were running through those gaps. And at the start of the second half, Finbarrs, they just weren't allowed to do that at all. They were trying to play out from the back. They were trying to run through those spaces again, and it just wasn't happening. Stacks were cutting them off every time. And that high press up the top of the pitch was just causing all sorts of problems. It really, really was. And Finbarrs time and time again were losing the ball, and a couple of points from Sean Quilter, a couple of points early on in the second half as well. And suddenly it was a 1-point game, and you were really feeling at that point that Stacks were going to turn this game around, and they were probably going to go on and win it. there was a miss just before the end of the third quarter, or just before the end of the third quarter from Sean Quilter from a free, difficult free to be fair. If that goes over the bar, maybe Stacks gain a bit more momentum after that, because they were going through a 5 to 6 minute lull at that moment in time, and maybe they would have been able to turn it around. But it was always going to be tough for them, wasn't it? Even cutting back a 5-point deficit, and certainly in the fourth quarter, you could tell management laying into Finbarrs really to try and turn the game around, because it was, it wasn't good enough in that third quarter. Didn't score a point in the third quarter at all. And didn't score their second point, or didn't score their first point of the second half, I think, until around the 50th minute. So they were really, really struggling, Finbarrs, in the second half, but started going a bit more direct in the final couple of minutes, a lot more long balls, and it definitely did start causing a couple more problems. And then he gets a goal, which at the time you felt like that's it, game, set and match, game over. There's no way back from Stacks from here, because I think Finbarrs had a 5 to 6 point lead at that point. But, you'd have to say, man of the match from an Austin Stacks point of view anyway, maybe not man of the match in the entirety of the game, but Sean Quilter gets a goal and a point, and you're thinking, I think Stacks might be back into this game. All of a sudden it's a 1-point game, and they give away the free right at the death, and obviously that's put over the bar. It's 2 points again, and they just didn't have enough time to get another chance. It was very much game over from that point. One Hail Mary ball sent in, and it was too little too late really from an Austin Stacks point of view. But you have to credit St Finbarrs for this victory. Straight out of blocks, fast, causing a lot of problems for Stacks in around their defensive line. And we haven't seen Stacks have too many defensive problems this year, really, but that was the first time really we've seen them stretched and put under pressure. And as I said, Stacks just a little bit, Finbarrs just a little bit more sharper, I think, in the opening sort of half of this game. And I think that's probably ultimately what will have cost Stacks in this game, because they gave themselves way too much to do in this game. Conceding a goal after 17 seconds, they were only level in this game for what, not even half a minute. So, they gave themselves a lot to do. I suppose from a Finbarrs point of view, like looking at in terms of man of the match, Brian Hayes was exceptional, absolutely brilliant. A hold in the ball, hit a couple of points in the first half as well. He was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Probably my man of the match, in my opinion. Killian Murray was brilliant as well. 1-1 in the first half. Brilliant goal, brilliant, well-taken goal, especially early on. The game's just started. You might fluff your lines there. Lack of match sharpness, all the rest. First senior club championship game in January. So, you could fluff your lines there, maybe potentially. There could be, they could be caught, but to be fair, he kept his composure and put it in the back of the net. And Stephen Sherlock was brilliant at different times as well. Ian Maguire, brilliant. And defensively, late on in the second half, although they conceded that goal, the likes of Jamie Burns was very impressive in around their full back line, Colm Scully as well. So, fair play to Finbarrs. John Kearns as well, who made that big save at a time where if that goes in, the momentum would have been with Stacks, and they probably would have been able to shut up shop at that point, and they wouldn't have been chasing the game. So, yeah, it was it was a brilliant game, absolutely brilliant stuff, brilliant club game, and Finbarrs march into the final four of the All-Ireland series. They'll play the winner of Kilcoo and Derry Gonley Harps, which is about to start in a couple of minutes' time. So, yeah, there will be a match reaction out after that as well. So stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for more videos, podcasts as always. Dublin season preview out tomorrow. Mayo season preview out Friday. So yeah, stay tuned for those videos, and I'll see you all later. Cheers to anyone who tuned in. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you later.